This is Kelly Freeman with NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio, and this week we saw a return of our Parenting During a Pandemic series. This will be going on for the next 4 weeks as we break down the American Rescue Package and what it means for parents and families. This week's panel was all about the child tax credit, and we had Liz Brown from the Ohio Women's Public Policy Network moderating, as well as Chad Bolt from Senator Sherrod Brown's office, Jasmine Henderson from the Ohio Women's Alliance, and Cartwright from MomsRising.
Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each week, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, and on our website at prochoiceohio.org. The program also airs each Friday morning at 9 on WGRN 94.1 in Columbus, Ohio. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ProChoiceOH. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first of a 4-week series we're doing. I'm Elizabeth Brown. I'm the Executive Director of the Ohio Women's Public Policy Network. I am joined by 3 amazing panelists today. I want to give a big shout out to NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio, who has helped to set up this event. For the next 4 weeks, including today, we are on Wednesdays gathering for lunch to talk about parenting in the pandemic. And what we really want to zero in on is the fact that help is on the way for parents. There are some key provisions of the American Rescue Plan that help parents through what is a very difficult time. And as a parent myself, I may work in the policy world, but as a parent myself, I can find it confusing to understand how to access these benefits and to understand how they matter for parents all across the state. We're joined by 3 incredible people who are going to talk us through the child tax credit, which is the subject of our of this first Wednesday.
My name is Jasmine Henderson, and I'm the Director of Policy and Social Impact for the Ohio Women's Alliance. And how I'm showing up today is I'm feeling well rested, I'm feeling well hydrated, and I am ready to talk about children and what it takes to support families.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here with everyone. My name is Chad Bolt, and I'm a legislative assistant to Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio. I work on tax policy for him. And what I'm excited about today is making having the chance to demystify, as Liz said earlier, that help is on the way through the child tax credit. Explain what exactly Congress did in the rescue plan, and I am excited to make all of those temporary expansions permanent moving forward.
Hey everybody, I'm Cartwright. I am a local business owner of a platform called What's the Biz with TJ, where I highlight the stories of Black business owners. But today I'm here as a parent and mama bear of a 4-year-old son, and really to advocate for more money.
That is awesome. Thank you. Let's get into it. The CTC is a longstanding program to fight poverty, but the expanded CTC passed under the American Rescue Plan is transformative, and its impact will be broad for families. Can you share more about those improvements and the ways in which the CTC has been expanded?
Up until passage of the American Rescue Plan, the child tax credit was a $2,000 tax credit that was not fully refundable. Basically, like any tax credit, the child tax credit reduces the tax that an individual has to pay. And if your tax liability is less than the value of the credit, if the credit is not refundable, it means the credit only reduces your tax liability to 0, and that's it. If it is refundable, and this is like a really important distinction in tax policy, if it is refundable, it means that you get money back. So after your tax liability is reduced to 0, if the tax credit is refundable, whatever you have sort of left over, you get back as part of your tax refund. And so as I said, before the American Rescue Plan passed, the child tax credit was $2,000, and it was not fully refundable. And the fully refundable piece really means that the lowest paid families and kids did not get the full value of the credit. What we were able to do in the American Rescue Plan is a couple of really, really big things that will transform the impact that the child tax credit makes for kids and parents. As I said, we made it fully refundable. So even the lowest paid workers and families, if you have kids, the credit you get is fully available to you, and we bumped the amount of the credit from $2,000 to $3,000, and would even go a little further for kids 0 to 5. The amount of the credit for kids 0 to 5 is $3,600. And the other thing we did is starting in July, it will be distributed on a monthly basis. And we think this is a really, really huge development for just the financial stability of parents who are raising children and really need a little bit of an extra and regular and expected financial boost as they deal with all of the expenses of raising kids, diapers and childcare and everything under the sun. The changes that we made to the child tax credit have flown under the radar a little bit. So I'm excited to share that with you today, and excited that we were able to get it done.
That's awesome. And I want to turn it over to Tejal to what does that sound like to you?
I feel like it just really helps us invest in our children. Like, me and Luke's dad, we both went to college. We both, did what we were supposed to do, and to find the struggle to afford high quality care. It's hard. We had to move Luke to a new school, which at first he was at a private center, which we were able to, scrape together everything to afford. We really wanted to invest in our kid. But after losing our jobs, we had to move him to a school that was free, which is no problem. But that means bigger classrooms, less hands-on. And my son is very active. He needs that, close, relationship so he can, focus. And I think just parents getting more money and being able to invest in their kids or provide resources that they may need, like even food. Like, some people aren't even thinking about childcare and high quality. Some people's first instinct is getting food on the table. And so I think that an increase is just really supporting families that are already trying to do what they have to do to live and survive. So yeah, that's where I'm at. As far as me personally advocating just to invest and make sure that, our son has the resources to really get a great education for real.
Thank you. And Jasmine, I want to pull in the Ohio Women's Alliance. You organize in communities across the state. You organize women, particularly women of color. What have you been hearing from the women in your collective about what they need, not only to rebuild from the pandemic, but really to thrive?
Yeah, I believe that the child tax credit is really helpful. So you're absolutely right, Liz, that I represent about 335 women from across the state of Ohio. Most of them are women of color, most are parents, most heads of households. And what became apparent during this slam dunk of an event called COVID-19 and the pandemic that we're in was there was no sustainability or wraparound services for many parents in the first place before we had a global event that kind of just transformed the way our economy works and the way we're showing up. So like Tejal said, Tejal is a part of my collective. So with this being said, we have a lot of parents who are struggling to find adequate food services. So I'm located in Dayton, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio is one of the largest food deserts in the nation, and it's existed before the pandemic. And this isn't just unique to the Miami Valley region. Like, food insecurity is a very large issue, and many parents were not getting the full wraparound support that they needed, and also the safety net and human services were not expanding. So what we're really seeing and what we're hearing about things like being able to receive $3,000 or $3,600 if you have a child under 6 is really transformative and self-determination for many of our parents who don't have extra wiggle room to simply live. I just think we need to give parents additional wiggle room to be able to make better choices for themselves. No parent should have to decide between whether to send their child to a high quality center. I know, Liz, before we got on the call, we were talking about the impact of synaptic pruning and synaptic explosion and why investment in children from 0 to 5 is so important, or access to high quality food. A lot of parents don't even have these choices. We're facing a housing crisis. If children are displaced or they don't have homes, they cannot thrive. Parents are having to incur higher rates for being at home full time. So the lights are always on, the water's always going, the kids are at the refrigerator more. So we're just seeing those sort of impacts about not being able to meet your bills, about an increased the increased ability to be at home and what that means, since we were able to go to work and send our children to school, and so our home costs would kind of be reduced because we would not be at home during the day. So what we're really seeing is that with this additional money, parents are able to make more adequate and holistic choices for themselves, and they're actually able to have a choice in the first place, which is something that was not taking place before the pandemic, and currently is what people need help in. Many of our members are frontline workers, working class. So this additional wage and boost just allows them to transform their lives and maybe even do things like buy a vehicle to be able to get a higher quality job, be able to enroll in school, be able to have better choices around childcare, because a lot of times many of our parents who are suffering live in childcare deserts. So they may need to travel farther to get equitable childcare. So we're just talking about equity at this point, and that's what our parents are asking for.
Can I chime in really quickly? Is that the model? Okay. So one thing that I'm really dealing with that's really heavy on my mind and my heart right now is, so like I said, we had to switch Luke from a private to a public, which has more kids in the classroom. My son is, well, he just turned 4, just came out of a pandemic with me, like being with his mom for a whole year. And right now we're having like behavior issues. And usually schools have the tools and resources to support children in that. But because I don't know what's going on, I'm actually trying to get answers. But because of COVID, they're lacking those resources. And so that's even harder. And I think that part of this tax credit will help me be able to afford to get the resources on my own, so we don't have these problems. Like we literally had to pick him up today from school. And so it's like, even investing in resources ourselves, in this space, which I understand, like the schools are trying to figure out COVID too, which is why I'm not super upset. But it's like, there's just so much that this money can go towards. And I think that's important to talk about too, is like, even like having a son in this system and like being able to invest and make sure that he has the resources that he needs to thrive.
That is so important. I'm so glad that you both have narrowed in on this idea of choices and empowering parents to make choices for their kids. That's, to me, the real power of a refundable, I mean, there's the jargon, right, that Chad was talking about, but a refundable tax credit means money, resources for parents to make those choices. And every family is different. And I'm a parent. I had to have my third baby in the middle of the pandemic. It's wild, right? But I understand no one has the same set of choices in front of them. And really everything I do is through a lens of what's going to make my kids' lives better. Truly, like literally everything. And if we just believe parents and believe women, then we give them the resources to invest in their families and therefore the next generation. Truly. I mean, this is like transformative stuff.
And one thing that I always run into, I've been in conversations about giving money to families. I've been on the other side where maybe I'm receiving it. It's just that people just want to control what people are doing with the money. They have this idea that they know what's best for families. And, oh no, if we give you this money and you spend it on laundry, that's not what we gave it to you for. When in actuality, a lot of families don't send their kids to school because they can't do laundry. Their kids have dirty uniforms and stuff like that. So I think that that's very important, what you said, Liz, about like everybody has different things and different needs. And I think we just need to take the idea of like, we are controlling what's going on with people's money, like just give it to them and back up.
Yes.
And I just want to say, and to that point, I think parents should be able to utilize this to do self-care and mental health. services. I am a caregiver of aging parents. So this was my life before the pandemic of having to be in close and intimate relationships with people that are literally reliant on you for their lives. So I'm not a parent, but I understand what it means to have a close and intimate relationship with a person who's dependent upon you. I think having to do that in a close and confined space while also facing economic changes, while also just many things that are going on in this world that really keeps parents up at night. I think that's something that we have to get better around deregulation is what does care also look like for a caregiver who's a parent, and like what resources are we providing to allow them to center themselves to be present in the lives of their children, because we know that parents who are emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually well also invest more into their children. And what we're seeing is a deficit and a lack of parents being able to fiscally and economically invest in themselves to be able to go to receive mental health services, to have a gym membership, to have parents night out, to be able to hire, the local COVID, secure bubble babysitter that might rotate between homes, so parents can go out and safely social distance and have dinner. Like, we're not allowing people to, with this pandemic, I should be very particular with my words, has not allowed people or parents to be their full selves. And sometimes these parents or people did not have the capability or the fiscal investment to be themselves in the first place.
Yeah, I just think that the two of you have so perfectly given voice to exactly what we're trying to do here, which is empower parents, make the tax code more equitable, more just. I mean, the tax code that we have now works very hard to make people who are already wealthy even wealthier. It doesn't do a great job of helping parents like you, empowering parents. It certainly doesn't do a very good job of helping working class and middle class folks get ahead. And so I think what we've done here is hopefully brought a little bit of equity and fairness to the tax code. But also, I mean, Jasmine, what you were just giving voice to is just the stress of the pandemic and the financial instability that is either rooted in the pandemic or was at play even well before the pandemic started. We know that has negative outcomes on children, that toxic stress, when it's like present in the house, kids pick up on it. And we know through research that it results in negative nutritional outcomes, negative educational outcomes, negative employment outcomes for them down the road. And so we just want to make things a little easier for parents. Let's put the tax code to work for them instead of the wealthy and corporations. So if you have already filed a tax return with the IRS, then you're sort of in the system already. And the boosted child tax credit, the fully refundable child tax credit that I mentioned earlier, half of which will start getting distributed in July, is based on your previous year's income. So if you're sort of in the system already, if all goes according to plan, and we're keeping on the IRS about this, Senator Brown brought it up at a finance hearing with the IRS commissioner just a couple of weeks ago. We're staying on top of this. If all goes according to plan with the IRS, and you're in the system already because you filed a return, you will start getting that monthly distribution starting in July. The good news is about what's that?
Sorry, Chad, clarifying, if you filed a return ever, you're considered in the system, or if you filed it for this year?
If you filed it for this year.
Okay.
The good news is lots of parents who don't typically file a return because they don't have the taxable income that requires them to file a return, they are also eligible for this bigger child tax credit. And so there are a couple of options there. First and foremost, we are pushing the IRS on this, and we are hoping that the portal that the IRS is directed to set up under the American Rescue Plan, that the portal will provide an easy way for parents to just file a simple return so that they can get in the system, like I said, and start getting the benefits in July. If the portal isn't up and running, on day one in July, we are hoping that the IRS will get there. But if it's not, folks can find their closest VITA site, volunteer income tax assistance. Those are volunteer preparers where folks can go for free to file a return so that they can get into the system that way. The IRS also has a partnership with a handful of tax preparation companies called Free File. And if you go to irs.gov, you can navigate your way to Free File and file a return for free through one of those partners like Blot or TurboTax, one of those. And you can hopefully do that for free. So that's another way that you can sort of get into the system by filing a return and start receiving these benefits in July.
I want to pause because we got a good question in the chat. If I am on EBT, will this tax credit affect the amount of money I will receive from the SNAP program?
It will not, and that is because the tax code jargon here, or the legal jargon, is that these tax credits are disregarded. So it just means they don't count towards income for eligibility for other federal programs like SNAP.
Great to know. Thank you. And we also did hear from somebody who said that her childcare costs went up to $250 a week, and this is going to the CTC is going to really help her be able to afford that. Okay, so back to this idea of long-term. What are the possibilities for making this permanent?
I think we have a really good shot at it. Our chance to do something big and transformative like this doesn't come around very often, but we are in that moment right now. And what we have in the rescue plan is, it's temporary. It's 1 year. And so the fight continues to make them permanent. President Biden is going to announce that his American Families Plan will make part of the CTC expansion permanent, the refundability part that I mentioned earlier, so that even the lowest paid families get the full value of the credit. That will be permanent should the American Families Plan become law. And what President Biden wants to do on the boost from $2,000 to $3,000, $3,600, is extend that through 2025. So that's what President Biden is asking for. That's a good place to start. We're happy with that. But we in Congress, we're the ones with the pen, after all, the legislative pen. We would like to finish the job. So our fight is just to make the full expansion, refundability, and the boost from $2,000 to $3,000 to make that permanent. So in the weeks and months ahead, as Congress works to pass these this next large recovery package, that'll be our fight on child tax credit, is making the full thing permanent.
When you think about the impact of the CTC, there are some folks who are on the lowest end of the income scale. This will be completely transformative in helping to afford necessities, basic necessities. There will also be, parents closer to middle income that this is also transformative for. And I do want to lift up that this tax credit, this CTC, expanded CTC, will help so many families. Chad, do you have an actual sense of percentage of families who will get kind of direct benefit here, to just represent the slice of Americans that are going to really feel this?
Did you know, Liz, that I do have a percentage for that? I can tell you in Ohio, it's 92% of kids in Ohio will benefit from the expansion of the child tax credit.
92%.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So this is like others have said, this is a transformative and not quite universal, but vast majority of kids in Ohio and all over the country will benefit from this.
Well, I'm going to start to wrap things up on that note, and that the CTC in particular, as Chad just said, in Ohio is going to help 92% of kids. But at the same time, it's going to do work wonders for child poverty. And the head of the Children's Defense Fund, I saw her talk about this the other day, and she said that poverty is a violence we inflict on our children. And I just think that is a powerful quote. The expanded CTC will cut child poverty by more than 40%. And specifically, when we're talking about Black children, will cut child poverty by 50%, in half. It's incredible. And I think that, for anyone who looks forward to getting this benefit for their family, who thinks it's important for others to have it, please dial into advocating, speaking about how this is going to help you, and talking to federal representatives about how this is going to help you. Please think about doing that, because the possibility of a long-term benefit here, as Tejal said, that just believe us, right? Just believe parents, believe women that this is transformative. So I want to thank the three of you for being here and helping to shed light on the CTC. This is the first of our 4-week series dissecting the American Rescue Plan and really understanding for parenting in the pandemic ways in which help is on the way. So I appreciate the three of you being part of our inaugural group to do that. And I am going to, instead of just immediately closing it down, I'm going to one more time, for anyone who wasn't around when Chad first went through this, please, Chad, tell us again how I'm a parent. I want to understand how to make sure I access the CTC this year. What do I do?
So bottom line, this is more money back in your pocket. If you have already filed a tax return this year, you are in the system and you'll start receiving the periodic distributions of the tax credit, the monthly distributions starting in July. If you have not filed a tax return this year, that's okay. You have some options. You can go to irs.gov and choose one of their free options for filing a return, or do a search for, just fire up the Google machine and search VITA site near me. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and find a VITA site, and they will help you file a tax return for free as well, so that you can get in the system and start receiving your monthly distribution of the tax credit.
Great. Thank you, Chad Bolt with Senator Sherrod Brown's office, for being here. Jasmine Henderson with Ohio Women's Alliance, thank you for being here. Are there any last words for our folks who've tuned in?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, which I was talking about the 92% of, I just wanted to put actual numbers. So it's about 2.3 million children and families who'll be able to benefit from the CTC, and about 278,000 are children and families who are in poverty. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of lives we can touch in Ohio.
Thank you for lifting that up. And thank you for your advocacy, Jasmine, all the time. Tejal, Cartwright, thank you for being here and for representing Luke. Is there anything that you want to make sure you say before we sign off here?
Yeah, I feel like we are always talking about policies and all of this reformation and stuff like that, but I really want to take a second to just really encourage families just to really keep thriving. Our kids are dependent on us, and just really take care of yourselves as much as you can. And we are fighting, so don't give up. We got this. We are raising the next generation. Our jobs are so much more important than we can even fathom. So
thank you. Thank you for saying that. So a reminder to everyone who's listening, this is the first of 4 weeks of parenting in the pandemic, where we're taking a look at the American Rescue Plan to really understand what it can do for families. We really appreciate, again, Jasmine, Tejal, Chad, for being here for this week. And I hope that everyone continues to tune in. We'll see you for lunch every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks.